Hi guys, and welcome back to the Unquendor Guitars workshop. My name is Daniel and this is the first part in the video series where I'm building a brand new guitar in my brand new workshop for the first time. So I'm very happy to be back and I can't wait to start building this guitar. And to be honest with you guys, I had to re-record this intro because while I was editing the video you're about to watch, I realized it was way too long, so I had to cut it up into a two-part episode. And yeah, let's turn on all the lights. I'm back and let's start making the templates for this guitar. We need to do is of course make some templates. So let me put this wood aside and let's start making some templates. I've already made a design using CAD software and printed this plan, and I thought it would be fitting, this being the first guitar in a new workshop after having to rebuild a workshop, to have it be a Gibson Firebird or a Phoenix inspired guitar. So this is the model we're going to make, and I went ahead and printed some full size drawings of various parts. So the headstock full size, the neck, parts of the body, and now I can stick these pieces of paper to this sheet of MDF, cut them out and make our templates from there. And to make sure I align these properly, I printed some center marks on the corners of these sheets of paper, and if I can align them perfectly, this should also ensure that my templates are aligned when I stick them to the MDF using some spray adhesive. So let's see if it fits on one sheet. I have some spare sheets just to be sure. I think I can also use this edge of the sheet, yeah, to help me align everything properly. So I'm going to take my time and align these pieces of paper, stick them to the MDF, and then we're going to use a jigsaw and my bandsaw to cut them out. I'm aligning these sheets and using my awl as a sort of guide. The most important part is to check the center line I've drawn on this drawing, and it should be nice and straight, which at the moment it isn't. Yeah, let me take some time and get this all sorted. So here's one. The body is done, ready to be glued to the MDF. I've trimmed down the template for the neck just a little, so I can be more efficient with my MDF. It should fit right here on the edge. It does. So let's align the neck. So aligning the templates and making sure everything is nice and straight might be one of the most crucial parts in any guitar build. And if you're not confident or able to do this yourself, I can highly recommend sending out your drawings to a company or someone that can laser cut these templates for you from either MDF or acrylic. It doesn't really matter, but yeah. Take your time and be very precise when aligning your drawings or making your templates. Everything you do right here affects the entire build. I think I'm there. And of course, once I'm going to actually make these templates, I'm going to check, double and triple check my work. But my center line is nicely aligned. I can see that these lines for the neck themselves are nice and consistent, or how do you call it? They are linear from the one template to the other. They're fitting closely together. And off camera I'm going to check the measurements for my fret spacing as well, to make absolutely sure that my neck template is absolutely 100% perfect. To stick the templates to the MDF, I'm going to use a spray adhesive to shake it well before use. And to make sure these templates stay nice and aligned, I've stick them to the MDF using some masking tape so I can flip them over, spray everything with the glue, apply a thin layer of glue. On both the paper and the MDF. I have to let it sit for just a while to let the glue get tacky, and then I can flip the paper onto the MDF and it should be stuck in place permanently. Make sure it's nice and tacky. I can feel the vapes on my arms. Here we go. And now it's just like sticking on a big sticker. Make sure you don't get any greases. So the template goes on nice and evenly. The neck one looks good. Let's do the body one, and this is a tricky one because it's a whole lot bigger. Don't get your template too wet or your paper. Put down. Make sure it's nice and even. And I know it doesn't seem even on camera, you can see the stripes, but it's tacky everywhere. Now carefully flip back this paper template. Now let this fully dry so it's nice and secure fixed to the MDF before starting to cut out. So I'm going to grab myself a cup of coffee, let this dry, and I'll be back when we're going to cut out these templates. The glue has dried and the templates are stuck to the MDF permanently now. Now I'm going to use a jigsaw and rough cut the templates from the sheet of MDF, and then I'm going to refine the templates on the bandsaw, most likely the router table and of course the spindle setter. But first use a jigsaw to rough cut these shapes. And of course, if you have access to a table saw or another way of cutting these sheets to pieces, by all means use whatever you have access to. A sheet is too large to fit underneath my bandsaw, so I'm using just a jigsaw to rough cut these templates from the sheet of MDF. And now I can use my bandsaw to cut as close to the line as I dare, to be honest. So lower the guide a bit. Blast gate open. Dust extraction. And let's cut out the template. templates are roughly sawn from the big sheet of MDF. I'm going to focus on the neck first. I always like to focus my guitar builds or start my guitar builds by focusing on the neck first. And mainly these two edges. I'm going to focus on these two edges first. They need to be dead straight, of course. They need to be have an equal taper along the entire length in comparison to the center line. So they have to be equal on both sides of the center line. And to help me with that, I'm in luck because I already have a neck template, a Sonia headstock and neck in this case, that fits this guitar perfectly. I like to have the main taper and scale length of all my guitars to be the same. It's a 25.5 inch scale length for all my guitars, so I can have a modular system for my guitar, so every neck fits on a different body shape. If someone likes Sonia neck and Sonia headstock on a Nessa guitar, it fits perfectly. These templates fits together perfectly. Same goes for the new neck for the Phoenix build, as this one is going to be called. It has the same taper, same scale length as my other guitar, so if a customer wants a certain headstock on their guitars, they can, by having all these neck shapes the same. So what that means for me is that I can stick an existing template, in this case the Sonia template, to the new template, make sure the nut line and the sides and the center line are aligned perfectly, and then I can use my router table to make sure that the headstock to neck transition is nice and smooth, and these two sides are perfectly dead straight and perfectly aligned to the center line. Make sure everything is aligned and gently apply some pressure. Onto the router table. Router table is all set, so the bearing on the router bit runs along the upper template of the original Sonia neck, so I can route these two straight edges along the side. Some dust extraction, and here we go. Edges of the template are now nice and straight by using the existing template and my router table, and the rest of the headstock I'm going to shape using either my spindle sander or just regular files and sandpaper to shape the rest of the headstock. If you don't have an existing template you can use for the sides of your neck template, you can also use some aluminum profiles or a piece of MDF or anything that has a perfectly straight edge, and align it with the side line or the line indicating the size of your neck, and then use a router table or a handheld router to get this side of your neck as straight as possible. I was lucky enough I could use an existing template, but if you don't have one, you can use other ways to get this, these two sides as straight as possible. template for the neck is finished for now, so I'm going to put it aside. And I'm going to continue and work on the body template. And the first thing is refining the edge. And before I'm going to take it to the spindle sander, I want to share with you a quick little tip on how to make sure you don't sand over the line of your drawing on your template. Because when you're sanding the paper, it will curl back and you will lose sight of your line. There's an easy way to fix it, and that's taking a small little knife. I'm using a small carver's knife, but you can use a scalpel, a utility knife, pocket knife, whatever, and make a little cut just alongside the line that's on your template. So trace the line with the knife and make sure you cut all the way through the paper. And this way, when you're sanding and you're getting close to that little cut, the piece of paper will snap off. It will, you can see it pop off, and then you know you're very close or on your line. So you won't sand over your line and having to redo the entire template. And here we are. Let's take it to the spindle sander. So I've zoomed in as close as possible, and hopefully when I'm sanding you can see this tiny strip of paper popping off when I'm approaching the line on the template. Let's put on some vacuum. Popping off, and it's an indication that I've hit my line. Let's continue. After finishing on the spindle sander, it's time to refine the edges a bit more. There's always bits of bumps and humps on the sides, no matter how careful you are with the spindle sander, because it's a round spindle, of course. You can have little dips on these long curved edges. So what I like to do is take a leveling beam or a sanding block and some sandpaper, and by hand get rid of all those small little inconsistencies. And you can really feel it when going over these edges that there are slight little bumps. So I'm going to sand it nice and smooth, and when I'm finished I'm going to do I think the control cavity, and then make some copies of all of the templates on the router table. Tiny bit coarser. And really the only way to get nice and consistent tendency from one turn into the other is by feeling it. On the transition from an outside corner or an outside edge to an inwards curve, on that transition point you can sometimes feel a little bump, and yeah, the only way to get rid of it is by sanding it by hand. Or if you're lucky, there are those flexible router guides that you can screw down on your template and follow it along with a router template bit. But if you don't have any, doing it like this is the easiest. And in my opinion, the only way. Just do it by hand. Yeah, really take your time refining those edges, because every inconsistency you leave in your template will also be in every guitar you make from this template. So yeah, take your time and make sure you're happy with the consistency of your edges. Tiny little hump still here. And I'm using very fine sandpaper, just 320 grit on this MDF. 240, 320, that's the coarsest I will go to refine the MDF, because otherwise you'll be sanding off way too much, too fast. I think I'm happy with this. Nice. It took me some time, but yeah, I'm happy with the results. I have a nice and smooth outline on both my body template as well as the neck template. So the next thing is making some copies of these templates, so these can be used as master templates, and I always have a backup if needed. Making a copy is relatively straightforward. Just place your template on, in my case, a piece of MDF or a piece of plywood or whatever material you're using. Pick a pencil and just trace the outline, just like if you were building a guitar. Exactly the same. And now take this to the bandsaw and cut it out. And then over to the router table and use the template as a guide to get an exact copy. With the copy rough cut, I can take it over to the router table and get it to the final shape. To make it easier on myself, instead of using masking tape and super glue, I'm going to use just 3 little screws to fix the master template to the copy. And that way I can make copies real quick if needed. Take a drill bit, small drill bit, and in the center line where I know there's no features planned in the future, I'm going to drill a tiny little hole at each end and one in the middle. And of course I need to countersink these screw holes. This makes it much easier and much faster to make copies when I need to. So, onto the router table. When working with MDF and despite having a shop vac or dust extraction running, the workshop tends to get very dusty, and especially on the wooden floor, the MDF dust makes it very slippery and makes it a real hazard. So if you're like me, having a wooden floor, I think it's especially on wooden floors, and you're working with MDF or any dust making type of wood, make sure that once in a while you sweep your workshop floor so it doesn't become a hazard. And it only takes a couple of minutes. If you do this consistently, it just takes a couple of minutes and you have a nice, clean and safe workshop. If you only did the most often walked areas of your workshop, so behind your workbench, in between your equipment, and you can see from on the wearing patterns on your floor where you most often walk, so make sure those areas don't become a hazard with all the dust or wood chips. Just a couple of minutes and you're done. Now that we have our first copies, it's time to do the center line on the copies, and to do so I'm going to use my little square and the center line that's on the master template and just draw it across the sides just like so. However, for the neck template I'm going to double and triple check if the center line is still correct, because when making the master template I was fairly accurate placing the existing template on here and use it on the router table, but there is a slight chance it has shifted ever so slightly. So yeah, always double and triple check the center line of your neck. And for the body, it's fairly easy. I can just take a mechanical pencil as small as you have it. I'm using 0.5 millimeter. Little square. Hold it up to the line and transfer it to your copy. Same on the other side. And do this before you remove your master. This one is a bit tricky. But here we go. One done. Let's do the neck. So to be more precise, I'm going to put the template in the vise. Transfer this line. And I'm going to use the inside of the square, so I have the biggest possible reference surface. Like so. So the headstock is a bit more tricky because the line goes over the edge at an angle. So it can be tricky to transfer that mark. It should be here. Like so, but I'm going to double check the center line when the template is removed with the center of the knot line. First I'm going to remove the master template. Put these aside. And we have some marks to check. Of course, the mark we just made on either side from pencil. This mark. And the one right here. I forgot something. I have to transfer the knot line as well, something I totally forgot. Let's clamp it down right here real quick. And this is why I love this vise right here. And I can work around my entire workbench. Transfer the knot line. Right here. The other side as well. Make sure nothing shifts. like so. And of course I'm going to double check everything, so draw in a new center line and then make sure the nut line is nice and perpendicular to that new center line. So first, with these two marks made for the nut line, find the center, and I know the nut line is 43 mils wide, so the center should be 21.5 from either side. Right here. And guys, take your time with measurements for your templates. Triple, double, triple, quadruple check. Erase if necessary, start over again if necessary. These are by far, I think, the most essential and crucial, is the better word, crucial measurements you do on any guitar build. Make sure your templates are correct, because every mistake, no matter how small you make here, will transfer, I said this earlier in this video, will transfer to all the guitars you make with these templates. So take your time, be accurate, and if necessary, take a break. I take regular coffee breaks when making these templates, just to reset and try to be as accurate as possible. I consider making templates more engineering than guitar building. It's not a creative process making templates, it's an engineering job. You have to be accurate, you have to be precise. Something I like very much, if you haven't already noticed, to be precise and accurate. So I like it a lot. So take your time and you'll be fine. I have to transfer the 12th fret as well, approximately. Make a center mark right here. And when all these marks align, you can draw in the center line. So I just drawn in the line for the nut using my protractor. And this is, I think, the most asked question here on my channel, is what this tool is and where to get it. This is the Incra protractor, and it's a measuring device, an angle finder, and it has these serrated slots all the way where the measurements are, fitting a 0.5 millimeter mechanical pencil. It's available in both metric and imperial, and you can find an Amazon affiliated link in the descriptions down below if you're looking for one of these protractors. I must say they're often out of stock, so yeah, take a look at it and you can find them usually in any good woodworking shop that sells Incra products. There are some companies, other companies making these as well, so look for protractor and you might find one of those. Yeah, and it's a really useful tool, not only because all the angles are indicated, but it has a measuring, it has dimensions, at the bottom, and I don't know if it shows up on camera, but the 0 point is at the center, so it goes either way, making it very useful to find centers or to mark measurements or dimensions coming from a center. So this is what I use to make sure everything is nice and perpendicular. Because of these serrations, I can see my center line, align all these serrations, let's call them, with the center line, and then this line will be the perpendicular line to my center line. So yeah, Incra, protractor, look them up if you're interested. And by using those affiliated links, you help out the channel without extra charge. So yeah, check them out. So yeah, check them out. Another useful tip to mark, for example, some fret positions like the 12th and the 24th fret. Instead of using a ruler, I'm using my fret slotting template. This is what I'm going to use when I'm going to cut the actual frets. So I'm going to use this as a reference for my fret positions. 25.5-inch scale length, and I'm going to do this like so, upside down. This is the knot line, so I'm going to align the mark for the knot line where the actual knot is going to be. And now I can use these slots to mark out the fret position. So this is the 12th. Last one is 24, and I made an additional slot at the end to indicate where the end of the fretboard is going to be. So I'm going to mark that as well. And now use the protractor, like I said, to align 0 right here, the center 0 right there. Make sure I can see the line through all these slots, and I can. This is 12th. The same goes for the last fret, 24. I always make 24 fret guitars, because why not? And I'm going to mark the end of fretboard. Again, be as accurate as you can. One template done. And this is where we're going to end this episode. And if you made it this far, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I can't thank you guys enough for the support you've given me the last couple of months. So yeah, we have our basic templates done, and in the next episode we're going to continue to work on the templates. For example, I'm going to create the templates needed to do an inlaid top. This guitar is also getting an inlaid top, so I'm going to create the template for the top itself, and of course a very complicated template, or a pretty complicated template to route the cavity. So if you're interested, make sure you don't miss out on that video. The best way to don't miss out on any of my upcoming content is of course making sure you are subscribed to my channel and have that little notification bell turned on and set to all notifications so you get notified when I upload something new. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked to be back, and I'm very happy with this first episode, and of course I hope to see you all in the next one, but until then, take care. Bye.